The Bridge Between Us. In a quiet coastal town called Havenport, where the waves sang lullabies and the breeze whispered secrets through the pine trees, lived a young woman named Alara. She was a talented painter, known for capturing fleeting emotions in vibrant strokes on canvas. Her studio, perched on a hill overlooking the sea, was filled with sunlight and the scent of oil paints. She lived alone, finding company in colors and silence. One rainy afternoon, while sketching by the cliffs, Alara noticed a man standing by the old wooden bridge that connected the two halves of Havenport. He was soaked to the bone, looking out at the churning ocean as if searching for something he'd lost. Curious, she offered him her umbrella. He refused with a soft smile, introducing himself as Aidan, a writer who had just returned to his childhood town after years abroad. Their paths began to cross more often, at the bookstore, the weekend market, and eventually, her studio. Aidan was drawn to her art, to the way she saw the world in hues he had long forgotten. Alara, in turn, was enchanted by his words, how he could make the ordinary feel magical. They started spending mornings at the bridge, she with her sketchpad, he with his notebook. The bridge, once just a crossing, became their meeting point, a symbol of the growing connection between them. But love, like the tides, has its ebb and flow. Aidan received news that his book had been accepted by a major publishing house in New York. It was a dream come true, but it meant leaving Havenport and Alara. He struggled between ambition and affection, torn by the fear of losing her or losing himself. One evening, as golden light poured over the bridge, he told her everything. "I don't want to leave you," he said, "but I've waited years for this opportunity." Alara looked at him, her eyes filled with quiet sorrow. "Then go chase your dream, Aidan. And if we're meant to be, the bridge will still be here. I'll still be here." Aidan left with a promise to write every day, and he did. Letters, poems, short stories inspired by her, by them, by Havenport. Alara replied with paintings, each one more vivid than the last. Seasons passed. His book became a bestseller. She held her first international exhibition. They were apart, yet their bond never faded. 2 years later, on a misty spring morning, Alara returned to the bridge to find Aidan waiting, holding a weathered notebook in one hand and a single sunflower in the other. "I'm home," he said, his voice trembling. "And I never stopped loving you." Tears welled in her eyes as she stepped into his arms. The bridge between them had never broken, it had only grown stronger. From that day forward, they shared not just mornings and words, but a life built on art, love, and the belief that distance means nothing when two hearts remain connected. When the Stars Fell for Us. In the quiet countryside of Tuscany, where vineyards stretched like a green ocean beneath a golden sun, lived a girl named Elena, a painter who saw the world in colors others could not. She spent her days capturing the beauty of hills, skies, and sunsets, always dreaming of something, someone, that would inspire her heart the way the landscape did. Every Saturday, Elena visited the village market to sell her paintings. One afternoon, while packing up her stand, a stranger approached. He was tall, with dark hair tousled by the wind, and eyes like stormy seas, restless, deep, and full of stories. His name was Luca, a writer from Florence who had returned to the countryside to escape the noise of the city and find silence to write. He picked up one of her paintings, an abstract of the night sky, and asked, "Why paint stars that don't exist?" She smiled. "Because sometimes, you have to paint the stars you wish for." He bought the painting without another word. But the next Saturday, he returned. And then the next. Week after week, they talked about art, words, constellations, and loneliness. They walked through olive groves, shared stories over coffee, and watched the sun dip below the horizon in silence that said more than any poem. Their friendship deepened slowly, like the roots of a tree. But it wasn't until the night of the Perseid meteor shower that everything changed. They sat beneath the open sky, a blanket spread across a hilltop. Meteors streaked across the heavens like silver sparks. Elena whispered, "I always make a wish when I see a shooting star." "What do you wish for?" Luca asked. "That the right person would find me," she replied, her voice barely above the sound of the wind. Luca turned to her. "I never believed in fate until I met you." And in that moment, beneath the falling stars, they kissed, a soft, trembling promise between two people who had wandered too long without belonging. Months passed. Seasons changed. Luca's writing began to flourish, and Elena's paintings grew more vibrant, filled with warmth and emotion. They inspired each other, healed each other, loved each other in a quiet, enduring way. But love, like art, is not without shadows. One spring morning, Luca received news from a publisher in New York. His novel was to be published internationally. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, but it meant leaving Tuscany, and Elena. They sat in silence on the same hill where they had first kissed. "You have to go," Elena said, her voice breaking. "This is your dream." "You're my dream," he whispered. She took his hand. "Then come back to me when your dream becomes real." Luca left with a promise sealed in a final kiss under the same stars that had once brought them together. A year passed. Letters flew back and forth like migrating birds. Their love endured the distance, the time, the loneliness. Elena painted every day, waiting. And one summer evening, as she returned from the market, she found a man standing at her door, holding a book titled "The Woman Who Painted the Stars." It was Luca. "I kept my promise," he said, tears in his eyes. "And I kept believing," she replied. They embraced, no longer lost souls, but home at last in each other's arms.